Every culture is different, as in they have a different way of doing things. In Europe, we have lots of different types of family structures. As you can see, they range from communitarian to absolute nuclear families. And then you get a sort of swathe of differences between them. And you can see this is all over Europe. In the very northwest European areas, we tend to have absolute nuclear families because these developed over a long period of time based on what I would suggest is probably a degree of relative security that we were able to have. So having individualist and nuclear families was something we could sustain, and we preferred it. Now, there's a book called The Origins of English Individualism by a historian called Alan McFarlane, and he charts the development of individualism in England since at least the 1200s. He points out that the records just don't go back any further than that, so actually we don't know how people were living before then, but it's hard to believe that we weren't living in some way akin to it. And in fact, if you look at Tacitus's Germania, he seems to imply that the Germanic tribes were basically individualists themselves, having a core nuclear family and a kind of self-reliance and independence that each man had that is just not normal, right? The rest of the world didn't have this, and it seems that in England in particular, we have preserved this. And of course, as have the northwestern Europeans who are most like us, such as the Danes, southern Norwegians, and the Dutch. And so when we talk about mass immigration, we rarely think about what we're actually offering people, right? What we're actually suggesting to people. Because the lie that multiculturalism and immigration was sold to us as was that, oh, they want to be like us. And some do. A small percentage of them absolutely do want to be like us and find their own cultures smothering and stifling. And so, okay, fair enough. I mean, if you're going to get a small minority of the immigrants coming over who actually want to integrate, marry an Englishwoman, for example, and then live like an Englishman, fair enough. I don't really have a problem with that. But we also know that most of them aren't doing that. And they tell us that they're not doing that. And so you've got to ask, well, why are they here? And the answer is, actually, we think we are offering them our way of life, but actually for them, what they're coming here for is money. We're kind of luring them over with not only good jobs or best paying jobs in the one they leave their homes for, but also benefits. So in Britain, you'll find things like this popping up. This is an advert for an app called Black Mums, and the tagline that goes with it is, because you deserve a village. Now, I as an Englishman am just like, okay, but I mean, I live in a town, but I mean, I've lived in villages. Lots of people live in villages. I don't really know what you mean because I come from a really different kind of community. But actually, the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child, is something that originates from Nigerian, Igbo, and Yoruba communities. And suddenly, you can see precisely who it's marketed at. Nigerian woman who moved to the United Kingdom, specifically to England, find the culture of absolute individualism, the absolute nuclear family, to be something that they're not used to, and they're trying to recreate their own social structures here in this country. So that shows you that they haven't come here to integrate, they haven't come here to be like us, they've come here for financial reasons, and now they are seeking to reconstruct their home culture in our country. Now, that could also be termed colonization, which I'm not really a fan of. And the question is, why are all these Nigerian mums here, actually? Why wouldn't they be more happy back in Nigeria, where they actually seem to be lacking something in their lives? And this was brought to this has been percolating in the back of my mind for quite some time now. The reason that I'm making this video is because of this article on the BBC. I created a community for 38,000 Indian women because Lovina Shenoy had, in 2022, just moved to London, and she was like, well, back in India, you have your family, you have your school friends, you have your college friends, you have your entire support system, you're in your comfort zone, but when you come to a new country, you're suddenly just let off, you're all by yourself. And even when you're not all by yourself, if the culture is radically different to the kind of culture that you had, well, you're not used to it. She said she spent a decade in Dubai, sorry, but she was surrounded by largely expat Indian community and then lived in her birth city of Mumbai. So she has just island hopped from islands of Indian immigrants, from Indians in her home country, but then to Indian immigrants. So we cannot at any point say that she's interested in integrating into the host culture. What she's doing is just going places where there's money, where her husband found a new job, and that's the only reason she's there. She's not there to integrate. She's not there to enrich the culture. She's not there for any of these reasons, neither is her husband. They're there because they can get money here, and they're allowed to come and get money here. That's the only reason. And so she was craving female friendship. She's like, where's my Indian community? So within a week of moving to London, I realized just the sun starts setting around 2 o'clock. I'm going to end up being really lonely and depressed. I have no friends. So she posted a message on her Facebook account. I'm Lavina. I'm from Mumbai. I was in Dubai for a decade. Is anyone free for a cup of coffee? And apparently 30 women turned up. Again, all Indian women. And they decided that they would hang out. And she says, wow, I've got my tribe. And yeah, this is her tribe. This is how these things work. This is not our tribe. Our tribe is actually very different. And I always get this with the classical liberal types on Twitter, where they're like, oh, I just want individualism, bro. It's like, of course you do, because your tribe is the English. Their tribe is not. Their tribe is very different to our tribe, and you do not understand their tribe, nor are they interested in our tribe. They don't like living as we live in our tribal customs. To them, this is alienating. And it's something that is just not their way of life. And it's okay for us to be different, but we should recognize that we are different. Anyway, she says, the community organizes several meetups a month, including walking clubs, brunch, Bollywood-themed parties, and other career networking events. So imagine if you were not an Indian woman and you wanted to be involved in this. They let you. I mean, they probably would. But you'd feel like a bit of an outsider, wouldn't you? Because there's a distinct cultural particularity about the way that these communities work. And like I said, that fair enough. But why should we be allowing this kind of neo-colonialism to happen in Britain? Why should we be allowing them to come here, occupy jobs that our people could have, and then reconstruct their home culture? If they're not even, if you were going to come and integrate, okay, that's one argument. But if they're not, why are we permitting this? Can't they live in their own countries? And in fact, in many ways, it looks to me that they're saying it would actually be more desirable if I were among friends and family. It's just the lodestone of your wealth that you were prepared to let me access has drawn me here. It's like, okay, well, why are we prepared to do that? Why are we doing this? A member of the group, Anu Chandrasekhar, says the community gave her the confidence to start a private career coaching business in 2025 after more than 20 years working in the corporate environment. Why are they here? Can't they work in corporate environments in India? Why do they have to use our country as some kind of undiscovered frontier where they can gold rush and get ahead in life and then start rebuilding their home culture in our country? That was never on the table. We never voted for mass immigration. We never asked for this. And yet the BBC are like, hey guys, look how great this is. I'm not sure it is. I don't really agree with it. But anyway, as you can see, there are lots of women from India who have followed the same pattern, and they are more comfortable just being around one another, which I totally understand. I think most people are more comfortable being around people like themselves because those people like themselves give them a kind of ability to kind of mind read. Those people become predictable to you. You kind of know what they're thinking. You kind of know what their dispositions are, and you know the kind of reactions you can expect from them. And when you're surrounded by loads of people who are not like you, well, you lose that ability and you lose the security that comes with it. Now, like I said, in England, I know the kind of things that English people think. I don't know the kind of things that Indian people think. And so I become less comfortable in my own country. And I'm not saying that I think that the Indians are dangerous or anything like that. Of course they're not. Like, the Indians seem to be, quite a peaceful, civilized people, etc., etc. It's just they have their own entire subcontinent in which they can be peaceful and civilized and think the things that they think and live the way they want to live. We only have one relatively small island in which we can live the way we want to live and think the things that we want to think. And I don't see why these people should have infinite access to that. And as Callum points out here, more than half of the people in this area are Indian. And so, yeah, this community does look a lot like a colony. This is an Indian territory in London. That's it. How else would you describe it? They are literally coming here from India, setting up in one particular place, networking and reconstructing Indian culture in London. That's what a colony would do. If I were to move with, however many English people to like wherever, and we, like Spain, and we set up essentially ethnic enclaves where we don't learn the language, we make sure that we are following English customs, setting up chip shops and pubs, then yeah, that's an English colony in Spain. And you know what? Many of the Spaniards don't like that. That's something we actually do. And if the Spanish turn around and said, no, we're enough of this, no more pubs, no more chip shops, you're going to have to learn Spanish or leave, I support the Spanish government in doing that. If they're not happy with that, then feel free to do something about it. It's your country. And I think the same privilege and should be extended to us, because we don't really want areas which are valleys of strangers, Muslim majority areas where there's no point speaking English and no one talks to each other because they're all so different. That's just not what I want for the future of England. And I don't see why I should have to give it up. I don't see why these people should take precedence. They have a country full of Indians, and I'm pleased for them to have it. And they can go and live the lives they want to live, and we can live our lives here. That seems like a really fair deal to me, and I don't see why we have to give that up.